I have two questions which some say they are related. One is about the Druzhba pipeline. Is it operational? Because Peter Szijjártó, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Hungary, said that they have the information that it's already functioning. It's only up to Ukrainians to restart it again. And what is the information you have on this? And the second one, after these happenings, when Prime Minister Viktor Orban promised that he's not going to block the 90 billion loan and support for Ukraine, now they withdrew their support. So can you trust Orban after these things? Do you think that any kind of agreement with Orban is valid anymore? Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. I'll call Anna Kaiser for your first question. On your second question, as you all know and remember, the European Council agreed to the Ukrainian loan under the one and only condition that 3 member states would not participate financially in the program. Now, this condition has been met, and therefore we expect all leaders to honour their commitments. And not respecting those is clearly, or would be, a breach of loyal cooperation. So that's what we would like to say on your second question. On your first question on the Druzhba oil pipeline, Anna Kaiser.
3 important points related to this. Russia destroyed the Druzhba pipeline. Our priority is the energy security of our member states. Ukraine has committed to repairing the pipeline, and the decision on the timeline is for them to make. And finally, we have called an oil coordination group this Wednesday to take stock of the situation. This is where we are at the moment.
Thank you, Anna Kaiser. Yes, Nikolaus.
Thank you. Nicholas Kurmaier for Euractiv. My understanding is that Ukraine will not directly participate in this oil coordination group. Will the Energy Community Secretariat participate on their behalf, or will they be invited specifically? And secondly, the Slovakian side has now, or the Slovak side has now said they would halt emergency grid assistance to Ukraine in response to the Druzhba supply stop. Can you confirm whether this has actually happened and whether this would stand in violation of the association agreement?
On oil coordination group, it is correct that Ukraine is not invited. It is the Commission is presiding. This meeting is at expert level. Member states are participating, as well as representatives from the energy community, and the information will be then relayed to Ukraine as well. But needless to say that we are, of course, outside of the oil coordination group. I mean, contacts are constantly ongoing with Hungary, with Slovakia, with Ukraine to establish everything that is going on at the moment. Your second question was Slovakia halting. Was it electricity? Was that you're referring to?
The Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico on Saturday said if oil supplies through the Druzhba pipeline did not resume on Monday, he would order SEPS, the state TSO, to halt emergency grid assistance services to Ukraine.
Let's first, in general terms, governments do not provide any electricity to Ukraine, and there is Ukraine and Moldova have synchronized their electricity systems with the continental European power system. So basically, in practice, this means that Ukrainian electricity suppliers buy electricity at market prices on the EU's wholesale power markets and flow this electricity then back home. And they use the previously acquired transmission capacities from the respective TSOs, the transmission system operators. So as I would like to refer to the general principles on energy flows, EU and the energy community rules do allow for a halt of energy flows only in case of technical issues or for security of supply reasons. And again, these are issues that we need to have full clarity of what is actually happening on the ground, and this will be, although it's electricity, this will certainly also be discussed on Wednesday.
Thank you. Other questions to Anna Kaiser? No? then we can move on. Yes, Jorge? We have two Jorges in the press room. Okay,
sorry. It's because it's related to Ukraine loan, but it's more for Balázs, because obviously right now the loan is blocked. You cannot go to the markets and raise the necessary debt to provide Ukraine with the payments. Can you clarify how much time you need, more or less, between the final approval of the loan and the ability to send to Ukraine the first payment? Because Ukraine has said it needs the money as soon as April, and now the clock is ticking fast and faster now. So how much time do you actually need to make this happen? Thank you.
Well, I don't know if we have a concrete timeline between the final adoption of the loan and the actual disbursement. Let us know if we have more details there.
So to recall the timeline, so indeed we said that at the very latest we want to get everything set up and done by the end of March. And that's the timeline that we are adhering to. But of course, the earlier the better. So time is of the essence here, given the financial needs on the ground. And as regards to financing operations, I mean, we can move ahead with those extremely quickly. We have a lot of experience in this domain. We have been raising funds for various programs in the past years and, in fact, decades. So I think what is important is to have all the pillars in place, and then the financing operations, borrowing operations can go ahead extremely quickly.
A follow-up, Jorge?
Yes, maybe it's more for you because you referred at the beginning to the visit of the president. She's going to Ukraine to show her solidarity. Obviously, she wanted to announce something, or at least to come with something tangible, and that could have been the 20th package of sanctions or the final approval of the 90 billion loan. Neither of those two things are going to happen. So how does the president feel about Hungary's blockage, the way this has happened over the weekend, and the fact that she will have nothing concrete to show tomorrow? Thank you.
Jorge, first, I will not yet take any conclusions with regard to tomorrow. Let's see what happens today. And I mentioned earlier that there is a Foreign Affairs Council taking place as we speak. And the topic of sanctions is also on the table. So let's see what happens there. And on the Ukrainian loan, as said, there was a political agreement by all heads of state, including the head of state who is now threatening to block it. So if there is credibility to be had of all the leaders who did commit to this loan, this is to be shown now. And we would expect that all leaders, including Prime Minister Orban, abides by his political commitment of the European Council of December last year. Other questions to Balázs? Yes, the other Jorge in the room.
Thank you. Quickly on the 90 billion loan as well. Everything you wanted to have everything ready by March, but if this blockade continues, are you on the stage of start looking for what other options will you have? Where do you have some other pockets of money, or if the bridge financing that other G7 countries are providing could extend beyond 1st of April? Thank you.
Jorge, again, we are looking into endorsing the political agreement on the 90 billion euro loan that was agreed last December. Other questions? David?
Thank you, Paola. David Carretta, Radio Radicale. You mentioned the possible violation or the violation of the loyal cooperation principle. Does the Commission think that this issue could be part of the Article 7 procedure, because it was not mentioned in the first procedure? Do you think that could or should be part of the discussion around this other issue? Thank you.
Thank you, David. We'll not prejudge any or speculate on any next steps. Again, we are confident that we can trust the word of all the political leaders and the decisions taken at the highest level, in this case, at the European Council of last December. Yeah.
Thank you, Eddie Wax from Euractiv. Just to follow up on David's question, last year the Commission was telling us that the reparations loan was the only viable option. Now you're saying the 90 billion loan is the only viable option. If Orban wins the election in April, why would he change tack? That's a rhetorical question. I don't think he would go back on what he's threatened to block, this weekend. So I want to press you on that. Do you have an alternative for keeping Ukraine, financed over the next couple of years? And will von der Leyen talk to President Zelensky about that tomorrow? Thanks.
Eddie, as said, we expect that the commitment by all leaders is respected and honoured by all the leaders. So that's what we, I think it's legitimate to expect the respect of such a high-level commitment. And that's where we are at this stage. Other questions to Balázs? No? Asi, Odile?
Oui, merci Odile Harvey pour Radio Nord-Bretagne. Changement de sujet. Si j'ai bien compris, vendredi, Balázs nous a dit que les institutions européennes pensaient recruter davantage de personnel. J'aimerais savoir, compte tenu des liaisons avec l'Inde, compte tenu aussi de la spécificité et le nombre d'Indiens qui sont spécialisés dans les high-tech, j'aimerais savoir si vous pensez ouvrir ces candidatures aux candidats indiens. Merci.
Donc, à la base, et afin de répondre de manière directe à ta question, afin de travailler pour les institutions européennes, il est nécessaire d'avoir le passeport qui lie cet individu à un ou plusieurs pays, plusieurs États membres de l'Union européenne. Donc je pense que c'est le principe de base. Je pense que dans l'histoire de ce processus d'intégration, un certain nombre d'exceptions extrêmement limitées ont été faites, mais la règle de base, c'est qu'il faut être citoyen de l'Union européenne.
Oui, Odile, une question de suivi.
On remarque aussi qu'il y a énormément d'intérêt des différentes écoles de commerce dans les pays de l'Union européenne qui veulent attirer des étudiants indiens qui, par la suite, éventuellement, comme tu viens de le dire, peut-être peuvent s'intégrer et postuler peut-être pour des postes dans les institutions.
Merci pour cette information. Donc, je peux rien ajouter à ce que je viens de dire. On a des règles en place que j'ai expliquées et tout simplement, il y a eu un certain nombre d'exceptions, mais les règles sont les règles.
Oui, Odile, on souhaite la bienvenue aux étudiants venant de tout le monde, notamment dans le programme Choose Europe, dont tu te rappelles, mais ce sont des choses différentes en termes de ceux qui sont employés au sein des institutions européennes, où effectivement il y a des critères en termes de nationalité de l'Union. Mais en général, on a d'autres programmes, d'autres initiatives qui sont censées justement accueillir et souhaiter la bienvenue à des étudiants d'autres nationalités hors Union européenne. Other questions to Balázs? No. We can change topic. Razia.
Thank you. Razia Akoc, AFP News Agency. I have a question on trade for Olaf. The first one is, I see in yesterday's statement that Commissioner Šefčovič spoke with his US counterparts, and the European Commission says it requests full clarity. So at this point, it's safe to assume that the United States has not made clear whether the deal is still, because as far as I understood, Greer said the deal still applied, but I guess there's some potential clarification needed, as everyone keeps saying. And then I also wondered on this subject. Friday morning, Šefčovič had urged the European Parliament to agree the deal as quickly as possible. I just wanted to confirm what the Commission's position would be now, because the EP negotiators are meant to meet. So does the Commission still think the European Parliament should approve the deal as quickly as possible? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Razier. On your first question, you answered it directly yourself. You said that additional clarity is required, and I think it's very fair to say that full clarity on what these new developments mean for the EU-US trade relationship is the absolute minimum that is required in order for us as the EU to make a clear-eyed assessment and decide on next steps. And so, as you will have seen in our statement that we put out yesterday, we are requesting full clarity. There is engagement ongoing with the US, but more is required for us to understand the full picture here. At the same time, we are talking intensively with our member states, with members of the European Parliament. So, for example, I can, just to give you a flavour of the engagement and outreach that's ongoing, Commissioner Šefčovič will this afternoon participate in a meeting of the G7 trade ministers. Later this afternoon, he will participate in a meeting with member states in the co-repair configuration, and tomorrow he will meet with MEPs on the European Parliament's Trade Committee. So we're very clear about what needs to happen here. The US needs to tell us precisely what is going on. Our intention is to honour and continue implementing the aspects of the agreement we made with the United States on our side, and by the same token, we expect them to be able to tell us precisely what is happening in order that they can continue implementing their side of the agreement.
Thank you. Razia, follow up.
Perhaps it's a little bit too early. I realise the decision came on Friday, but can I safely assume that for the European Commission, right now it seems the best option is to stay with the deal, that the deal is the good option, because otherwise it's just going to be too much instability?
No one's assuming anything here, Razier. You are right that the European Union is trying to preserve stability in the face of some substantial instability. We are trying to maintain predictability for businesses, for consumers, in the face of some substantial unpredictability. And therefore, we, as a protagonist in this saga, are staying calm. We're talking to our US counterparts. We're talking to all relevant interlocutors here in the EU and with our global partners. When we have a clear picture on precisely what the implications of the Supreme Court ruling are for the US, what steps they intend to take, what measures they intend to put in place arising from that ruling, then we will have the clarity we need to make a proper assessment and take further decisions. But to be clear, at this point in time, we do not have that, and it's not up to us to provide it. So I've mentioned the outreach and meetings in which Commissioner Šefčovič will participate. Technical level contact is, of course, ongoing. We're going to wait and see what's happening here. But getting back to the idea of predictability and stability, you've heard me say it from this podium before, that that is what is required to allow trade and investment to continue flowing forward and back across the Atlantic. And we've made very clear as well from the start of the imposition of tariffs by the US that we believe tariffs are taxes. We believe that ultimately the costs are paid for by consumers and businesses, and in this case paid for by consumers and businesses in the US. And recent comprehensive studies very much bear that perspective out. So what we're interested in is returning to a situation of stability and predictability as quickly as possible. We have a framework for doing that, which is the EU-US joint statement. And We look forward to our American counterparts explaining to us precisely what is happening so that we can return to a situation where companies in the EU and in the US can continue doing what they do best: trade, invest, create jobs, create prosperity on both sides of the Atlantic.
Good, thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you. Ardy Stemering for NOS, the Dutch public broadcaster. So if I get it right, you don't say that the European Commission wants to stick to the trade agreement under all conditions. And with that in mind, I also want to ask, what would you recommend? What does the European Commission recommend to the European Parliament to decide on the trade agreement today and tomorrow? Thank you.
I think I've been very clear in my responses so far. We're in a mode now of waiting for clarity from the US, while at the same time consulting with our member states and with our MEPs. So we're not going to prejudge anything here. We have a joint statement with the US that took a substantial amount of work to put in place. It has been functioning. It has provided the conditions for stable and predictable trade and investment to continue in both directions across the Atlantic. And now we simply request clarity from the US so that we can figure out what happens next. It's not more complicated than that.
Yes, Jorge. Jorge.
Thank you, Paula. Given your Sunday statement, Olaf, should we assume that when Šefčovič asked Greer and Luknik that indeed 15% will remain the ceiling and no further new investigations will be launched affecting EU products, he didn't get a resounding confirmation that that was the case? And secondly, given that you're still waiting for that clarity, you welcome the fact that the Parliament is set to freeze the vote in the Inter Committee today, as long as, you don't have fresh new information confirming that the US is actually sticking to its part of the deal. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Jorge. I'm going to say the same thing again, but slightly differently. If you read the statement that the European Commission put out yesterday, the most important thing in there, I would say, is 5 words. A deal is a deal. Both sides have agreed to, and indeed have a duty to honour their part of the agreement we made with the US. So now we are simply saying to the US, it's up to you to clearly show to us what path you are taking to honour the agreement. We will do so reliably on our part as the European Union, and I've explained to you why. Because European companies, and indeed companies in the US, need reliability and predictability above all other things in trade relations. I've listed to you the meetings that will happen in the next days. We're not going to get into hypothetical scenarios. We're not going to respond to speculative questions, and we're not going to say more until the clarity I've referred to several times by now is in place.
Jorge, really new question?
Yes. Is it your assessment that the tariff ceiling under the new scenario will be above 15%? Have you run some numbers? Secondly, is there a new call with the Luknit and Greer schedule for this week? And then still it's not an hypothetical. Given that there is no clarity, do you think that the ratification process should be freeze?
Thank you, Jorge. Your two questions contradict each other because in the second one, as you correctly said, there is no clarity. And yet in the first one, you were saying, what is your assessment based on what you know? Yeah, but yes, and we are saying it's up to the US to provide the clarity. When we have clarity, we can make assessments. So we're not going to answer analytical questions at this point when we don't have that clarity. It's as simple as that.
Virginie, I suppose it's on the same topic, online?
Bonjour, vous me voyez? Oui, c'est sur le même sujet. Olof, est-ce que tu pourrais me rappeler quels étaient les droits de douane moyens américains sur les produits européens avant l'accord de Thunberry? En gros, est-ce que c'était 3%, 5%? Donc si je rajoute 15%, s'il n'y a pas de plafond, ça me fait du 20, du 18. Enfin bon, est-ce que tu pourrais me redire quel était le taux de droits de douane moyen avant Thunberry? Et est-ce que tu pourrais aussi me dire, je sais pas, si tu te souviens, lesquels étaient les plus imposés? Par exemple, je crois que les fromages, c'était, je sais plus, 14%, j'ai oublié, mais voilà.
Olof fait en tête tous les codes douaniers.
Le moyen, en tout cas, le moyen, déjà. Là, je pense qu'il l'a en tête, c'est quand même une info spéculative, hein. C'est de l'information.
Virginie, merci pour ta question. Tout d'abord, la connexion n'est pas super, donc je ne sais pas si j'ai tout entendu, mais si je me permets, comme Paula vient de dire, là, tu nous poses des questions très, très techniques. Ceci n'est pas un briefing technique. Si tu m'envoies un mail avec des questions précises, je vais te donner des réponses précises.
Et encore des questions sur ce sujet, j'imagine.
Villepin pour France Télévisions, merci. On sait que certains secteurs comme l'acier ne sont pas concernés par cette censure de la Cour suprême américaine. Est-ce que vous avez plus d'informations sur les secteurs qui sont concernés en Union européenne?
J'ai rien à ajouter pour l'instant.
Oui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Peggy Conlin for Euronews. Some tariffs have been declared illegal. So are you planning to ask for a refund for the duties which have already been paid by EU companies? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Peggy. We are planning to make informed decisions once we have clarity from the US on what precisely is happening. Nothing more, nothing less.
Thank you. And the back. Yes, Jack.
Thanks, Jack Parr from the Irish Times. Just a question, Olaf, on the US side. The Turnberg deal, is that able to stand in itself, or could you explain, do the US tariffs need some legal grounding on that side? So that the Supreme Court struck down the Emergency Powers Act. Are we, do you need the US to come forward with some legal basis for its tariffs? Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. You'll note behind me this beautiful sign that says European Commission. That's who we speak on behalf of, not the United States. Therefore, I ask you to direct your question about potential legal basis for other tariff measures to them.
So let's see if we have new questions on this trade topic, because you see that we're turning around. Barbara.
Thank you. Barbara Moons, Financial Times. You said you're waiting for clarity. At the same time, of course, you're consulting member states and the MEP on what to do next. In the Coreper this afternoon, how much do you expect the anti-coercion instrument discussions to come up already, or is that something that you can only assess after that clarity has been given? Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Yeah, the answer to your question is the latter, as in discussions need to happen, and we have to give the time and space for those discussions to happen. Once we have a clearer idea of precisely what is happening on the US side, then we can really get into those discussions in a more focused and strategic way, I would say.
Oui, Antoine.
Thank you, Antoine Muto for Japanese public TV and HK. In your yesterday's statement, you said as well that the EU expects the US to honor its commitments, but since the European Parliament hasn't endorsed this deal yet, I was wondering, what do you mean by the EU and by honor in this case? And also, since both the US and the EU obviously seem to struggle with the long-lasting application of this deal, what is the concrete proof that this deal really exists? Thank you.
Thanks for your questions, Antoine. On the first, I've said what I have to say. On the second, on the EU side, we have been implementing our part of the deal via our distinctive European procedures. And that's all I have to say really at this stage. We are in the business of promoting stability and predictability and the best possible conditions for trade to take place. I would say that it's very clear that we are not the source of any instability or unpredictability. We are rather the ones who are trying to restore it, and that will continue to be the case.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Edith Hancock with Dow Jones Newswire. In the spirit of seeking that clarity, can you tell us what other plans Commissioner Šefčovič has to talk to his US counterparts in the ongoing days?
Thanks, Edith. And I believe that was a question from someone else as well. I didn't reply to it. Sorry. There are no meetings foreseen or calls with the US at political level that I'm aware for the coming days. But I mean, I can imagine that could change at short notice. The principals we're talking about will participate in this G7 trade ministerial, for example. So, watch this space. Once we have more to tell you in terms of meetings, we will.
Thank you. Very tempted to now come to an end of this topic because you see that most of these questions need to be addressed to our US counterparts. So I'll take a final question on this topic, please.
Bonjour. Allô, ça marche pas, hein?
Ça
si,
marche.
Vous m'entendez? Isabelle Euré, RTS. Olaf, est-ce que tu peux confirmer que le vice-président Šefčovič rencontre déjà cet après-midi les shadow rapporteurs au Parlement européen avant la réunion, dans le cas de la réunion de suspension éventuelle de l'accord? Est-ce que tu peux nous dire quelle va être sa recommandation? Faut-il suspendre ce vote en INTA, oui ou non?
Merci. Je ne suis pas au courant s'il y a une rencontre entre le commissaire Šefčovič et les shadow rapporteurs. Et pour le reste, j'ai dit tout ce que je peux dire aujourd'hui.
D'autres sujets pour Olaf? Razia?
It's a question about the UK minister. Is it for Olaf?
About UK ministers?
The minister's visit, today in Brussels. He had a meeting with Šefčovič.
Well, ask the question and we can see.
Okay. I just wanted to know more because the tweet really had not much. So I just wanted to know how the meeting was because I imagine that the UK brought up its concerns about the Industrial Accelerator Act, which I realise has been pushed to next week. But I just wanted to have more information about what was said in the meeting, the topics, etc.
Thank you, Razi. I don't think we have more information to provide, but I'll double check and come back to you in the afternoon if that's not the case.
Other topics still to Olaf. Nikolaus?
Since it hasn't been mentioned yet, Nicholas Kohlmeier for Euractiv. Will the Commission continue to facilitate or promote the purchase of the $750 billion in energy that was part of the agreement while you're waiting for this clarity?
I think Anna Kaiser or Paula may wish to compliment being the energy experts, but from my point of view, we've been very clear on this, that when it comes to energy diversification, we deal with partners around the world. One of those is the US. That's all we have to say.
And we're implementing the deal. That's also what Olaf said in very different ways and forms over the past 15 or even 20 minutes. Good. We move on to other topics. Yes, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I have two questions on different subjects. One is if you can give us a follow-up on the question that was asked on Friday concerning the fact that Radio Radicale has been defunded by the state, and what can you say in the framework of the Free Media Act about this? And can I ask the second question? It's about the decree on energy in Italy. You also had some questions about that, and you answered that the Commission is analyzing the decree. Did you have enough time to understand whether it is in contradiction with EU law, in particular the ETS provisions? The fact that actually the gas-fired plant will be reimbursed for their ETS costs by the consumers. Thank you.
So thank you, Lorenzo. On the question on the financing of Radio Radicale, Marcus will take this one up.
Thank you for the question. Now, we understand that this is a provision that is part of a draft law which is currently being discussed at national level, and have no further comment on this at this stage. Maybe I can just recall in general our position on media freedom and pluralism. As you know, free, plural and independent media are a vital element in ensuring the continued flow of reliable and trustworthy information to citizens. Supporting these media is of key importance, and we are committed to ensuring our support for and protection of independent media and journalists. And maybe to highlight in this context that the MFF, the next MFF, we have foreseen considerable funding to support free and independent media under the new Agora EU program.
Thank you, Marcus. And on your second question regarding the Italian energy bill, I'm just checking with colleagues. We don't have further elements to share with you at this stage, Lorenzo. Thank you for your understanding. Other questions to Marcus? Moser.
Thank you, Paula. I would like to ask another question about another fundamental right, namely the freedom of religion. I'm referring to the question which was raised last Friday about the ongoing discussion about male circumcision in Belgium. And there, as we remember, the Commission said that health is, of course, a member state competency, but the Commission also referred to its action plan to support and foster Jewish life in Europe. So I would like to ask, how do you reconcile these two issues? And that brings me to my question, because there are rumors or being reported that the Commission is working on issuing some kind of guidance to the member states how to regulate this issue about male circumcision, which concerns, as you know, both the Jewish and the Muslim communities, in a way that still will respect, let's say, the national competency when it comes to health issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mose. On the more, when we go more into the health policy as such, Eva will be able to come back, I think, later. What I can say in general on your question is that, of course, in accordance with the treaty, member states define their own health policies, including the delivery of health services and medical care. Freedom of religion constitutes one of the fundamental rights enshrined in the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. And now, as you know very well, Moses, fostering Jewish life is at the heart of the EU strategy on combating anti-Semitism and fostering Jewish life. And the Commission will continue, has continued to do so, and will continue, together with member states, to ensure that the Jewish people can go about their lives in line with their religious and cultural traditions.
Thank you. And I think there's yes, Mose.
Well, I would say that that's exactly the same answer we received last Friday. You didn't add anything in the explanation and didn't reply to my question whether the Commission is working on issuing a kind of guidance or guidelines let's say, which will highlight what is best practice among member states when it comes to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have nothing to add to what I've just said. As I said, on the health-specific issues, maybe the colleagues on health can come back on a later stage.
Yeah. Just looking if we have any addition. At this stage, we're not aware of any such guidelines, Mose. Other questions to Marcus? I see two hands online. Are they for Marcus? They remain online. Let's try. Gabriele Rosana.
Thank you. Gabriele Rosana, Messaggero, not for Marcus, though.
Okay, let me then see if Agatha Declare, is it for Marcus?
Hello, yes, it is for Marcus. Can you hear me, see me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Agathe Declare for Le Soir. It is about freedom of speech and the Belgian situation with the US ambassador. The US ambassador has said that the Vooruit president, Conor Rousseau, is banned from the US because of a video he did. And I was wondering if what the Commission think about this situation, if the Commission plan to have a reaction, and how does it interfere in the freedom of speech in Europe? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the question. I am not personally aware of this issue, and please bear with us. We'll come back to you as soon as we know more. I have checked bilaterally.
Yeah. But no comments at this stage, Agatha. Any other questions to Marcus? No, then Gabriele.
Thank you. On Friday, you extensively spoke about the opening ceremony of the Paralympics and the fact that Russia and Belarus have been readmitted to the Paralympic competition. Then you said, and several times, that Commissioner Mikalev decided not to participate, but didn't have elements on other lower hierarchy from the Commission that will be participating in the opening ceremony. So I would like to know if you have more to add on that, and if that was Commissioner Mikalev's decision, or rather a position of the Commission, so that you will not, as an institution, send anybody to the Paralympic opening ceremony on the 6th of March. Thank you.
So just looking to Anna Gazev to see if we have any update in terms of our representation at the opening of the Paralympics.
So as you recalled on Friday, we did say or confirm that Commissioner Mikalev will not be attending the opening ceremony of the Paralympics. We do not have information whether other college members would be going. Again, his decision, the Commissioner's decision not to attend the ceremony, is a symbolic move to show concern for the decision that was made by the committee. And we are not calling a boycott on the Paralympic Games. Quite the contrary, we hope that people will watch them. We have, as I said, no commissioner has announced their participation to the ceremony. And if this should change, we will make all their calendars as usual available online. And you will be able to see there, and we can also update if the situation should change. But it is basically, for the moment, it was the decision of Commissioner Mikalev to show his disapproval of the committee decision by not going to the opening.